Good morning and welcome to WorkLife Namibia. Today we focus on domestic workers and their contribution to Namibian homes, families, and society. Domestic workers play an important role in many Namibian households and in society more broadly. They care for children, care for elders, prepare meals, clean homes, maintain gardens, and in some cases also work as drivers, making it possible for family members to go out to work each day. Yet for many years, this essential work was undervalued, and domestic workers were not always recognized as full employees entitled to the same protection as other workers. That began to change after independence, when labor protections were extended to all employees, including domestic workers. It's noteworthy that in 2015, the first minimum wage set in Namibian law was introduced for domestic workers, although a very modest one, and Namibia later ratified the ILO Convention on Decent Work for Domestic Workers. So there has been progress in law, but in reality, many workers still face low pay, long hours, lack of contracts, and unfair treatment. As Workers' Day approaches, we ask, how far have domestic workers in Namibia really come? What challenges do they still face today? And what more must be done for the future? I am honored to be joined on WorkLife Namibia by Comrade Nelie Kahua, the General Secretary of the Namibian Domestic and Allied Workers Union, NDAWU. Welcome.
Good morning and thank you.
Now, if we could just start for 1 second, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where were you born?
Okay, I think Madam Vicki done the introduction very well. Basically, I'm been born from a small town of Maruru, which is in a coastal town, Erongo region. Growing up there, schooling there, growing up without a mom at a very young age. I lost my mom at the age of 7, and I grew up as a almost dead girl. So my father is one of my role models, trying to help me and assist me to grow in a young woman who I am. Basically, as a young girl that never been grow up with a mother, obviously the grooming system is lacking some role model of a motherhood. So I became a young mother at a very young age of 17. At the age of 18, I went back to school. I schooled in a Kakarara Secondary School. I left school again between and I reached to the capital city of Windhoek, which is now, I can say, my second home. Looking for a job and becoming a domestic worker since 1994 until 2012. So basically, I have an experience of a domestic workers on the ground for more than 17 years. So I think at this time and junction, I said, I know how does it feel being a domestic worker. So we know majority is very difficult to represent someone if you does not know what is the pain and the challenges that they are facing in private household.
Thank you. So please tell us about NDAWU, how it started, and what is its work today?
NDAWU has been established long back. I can tell about in 1989. NUNW is a mother body with our former leaders. They came with an idea of establishing a domestic workers organization in terms of looking on the challenges that they are facing on a daily basis, and there was no organization that represented them. In 1990, NDAWU was established, officially registered at the Ministry of Labor, and 27th of April. Basically, now we are talking about over decades of 36 years.
I think Helene Longa's still alive, isn't she?
Yeah. She is still alive. Basically, it was the woman behind the whole establishment. When we came to become some members of the union, we came to learn many things from Madam Ilonga, and now hopefully we will also maybe manage to get some highlights from her if we get a chance to do so. So basically, NDAWU was established in the sense of representing the voiceless, and which is the most vulnerable workers on the ground. And they were looking on the perspective of how can they be able to assist these people that cannot speak to themselves, because basically based on them being looking at they are undervalued, they don't have representative. As much as the organization is represented, there was no leadership establishment. People, they were been there, establishment in terms of the structure itself, constitutional wise, was not profound properly. But then NUNW enhance and motivate some of the domestic workers that can become members of the union. From my experience currently that I'm having is basically becoming a member of NDAWU since 2007. It was generally because there's called meetings, but we never get the grassroots level to say what is a union all about in actual fact, and why do we have to join a union? All this education, the fact that maybe they represented vulnerable workers, but then there was not much contribution because it's a membership-based organization. I know NDAWU since I became a domestic worker, because I started working since 1994. So becoming a domestic worker, you meet several domestic workers in buses from the destination of work, destination of home. So we started organizing ourselves in small groups in different areas. So Klein Venduges, I'm coming this side now. I even tell my colleagues to say, this is my territory of my experience becoming a domestic worker. So I know Klein Vendug very well.
Now tell us about the work of the union today.
The workers of the union today, basically I think we done much with the help of Minister of Labour, with the help of Madam Vicki Toivo herself, the woman behind our grooming and telling us what is the importance of the union, how we have to take the union further. We really appreciate your effort that you put in us. Here we are today, we are sitting here, we are sharing the experience that you groom, how you groom us to become the leader we are today. NDAWU is basically still facing the same challenges because vulnerable workers are facing a harsh situation in private household. But the union is visible, I might say so, and I believe that it's still visible because my experience being safe on Labour Advisory Councillor is also an open up a book for us to learn to say, okay, this is what we need to do as leadership, and this is how we have to do things. Basically, we came to say, to learn in terms of the Convention 189, which is a decent work. Convention for Domestic Workers, which is an international convention. As much as Namibia ratified the convention, Namibia was spearheading already. I might say maybe 85% already before the convention was ratified. As much as maybe we put some effort in with our International Domestic Workers Federation, with the support of the Sisters Union, support from the union, the organization are still facing challenges here and there, but membership-based leadership structure, they are in place.
Wonderful. Now, I touched on this a little bit, but I think you can certainly tell us, what role do domestic workers play in Namibian homes and in our economy?
The roles that most of the domestic workers are playing, of the union are playing, is representing domestic workers in terms of maybe dispute resolutions, to find out, so that at least we can also be able to educate our people in terms of them knowing their rights. Where does their rights start and where does their rights end?
But if I could just go back,
yeah.
The domestic workers themselves, because not all of the people who will be watching this podcast employ domestic workers. Can you tell us, what role do domestic workers play in the home and in our society?
Yeah, We play major role because basically a home that does not have a domestic workers is basically, I can say, is not an organized home because for domestic workers play major. The reason why I said they play major role is because for one to become a teacher, there is always a hand of a domestic workers. For one to become a minister, is a hand of a domestic workers because for a minister to go and provide a proper speech to the nation outside there's always someone who's taking care of the family, making sure the house is clean, making sure that kids are well taken, the meal are well provided. There's a lot that domestic workers are playing a role in it because as much as we are uneducated, this is not the background that the majority of the employers are looking at, but the skills that we have is the skills that we cannot exchange with anyone else. Because for one to be able to look after your mother, you don't have time as a private organization of a private company. You really need someone there. And domestic workers for us is not all about education, it's about skills that we have.
So you provide care.
Exactly.
You're caring for people.
We do care, very much.
What are the biggest on-the-job challenges that domestic workers face today in Namibia?
Looking at the challenges is basically, I will just take it basically to say, first and foremost is the low pay that they are facing because with the little that they can also not be able to take care of themselves, cannot be able to take care of their kids. It's very difficult for domestic workers with the little that they are getting now, even with the current national minimum wage. It's not even sufficient for them to pay rent or to provide a proper meal for their family. And majority of domestic workers are being settled in informal settlement. We are looking at Hakana, Puriangava, Oshomise, Sivendelan. We are living in shacks. So looking at affordability of a proper home, a roof on top of the family, it's very difficult. So majority of domestic workers' kids drop out in school because the mother cannot afford to send this child can go up to the level of grade 11 because it's a secondary school. But at the end of the day, the 2,600 will not be able to pay the University of Namibia for the child to complete the dreams of her career that she wants to achieve, so that she can be able to provide a proper meal to the whole entire family. And the other challenges maybe that I can also maybe clarify is domestic workers, majority of them, they are single mothers and for us we have a cultural norms that we said, no, I have my sister which is at the village, the kids have been sent to Windhoek where must they stay. So a family of 8 or 9 or 10 sleeping in one shack, how will you be able to feed this family if you don't have a proper facility of toilet, you don't have water, you don't have electricity, so you need to use maybe the riverbeds for you to release yourself. So this is the type of challenges that they are facing because as much as we are saving with dignity, we are saving with love, we care for others, we also deserve respect and a proper living wage.
The wage order that was enacted with the first minimum wages requires that domestic workers have a written contract with their employers. Is this really happening? Do domestic workers have written contracts?
As much as I stated to say that the decent work program, which is covered under the International Domestic Workers Convention 189, have all these components to say domestic workers are entitled to have a written contract, domestic workers have the right to be registered at Social Security. But this is not in reality. We might have this on papers, government spearheading these, documentations are there. But then there is also challenges from the employer side to say, what is the need for me to write it to give you a contract because you cannot read. So we have all these challenges that's coming in and looking down on people because people cannot read. But there is provision that have been there, established, amended, and regulated to say domestic workers have the right to have a pay slip, the domestic workers have a right to have employment contract so that at least this agreement can be able to be approved between me and Madam Vicki to say, no, I was working here since 2026 until maybe 2030. But it's happening, it's very rare. Those who are happening, they intend to reduce also the years of service. Because if I have to sign a contract today, it happened to say, I started in 2007. At the end of the day, this person came to realize to say no, because the domestic workers started knowing their rights now since the intervention and the marketing that we are doing online, to know that, okay, fine, I need to have a contract, because what will I have tomorrow to say if you say I must step out of your house, I don't have a contract even to go and open a dispute at the union office. So the years of service have been reduced. This person is denying, recently I think it was last month, that the domestic workers still have a contract that the employer want to sign for last year, 2025, and this person started in 2017.
Amazing.
So I tell her to say, no, don't sign. Don't sign, we take it up and then we'll see how can we do it. But this lady decided either you sign or we leave it as it is. So those type of challenges are coming in, and when it comes to social security registration, money can be deducted, the 0.9% can be deducted from a social security, from my benefit, from my salary as a domestic worker. But then at the end of the day, money is not being paid to social security.
Is that a common occurrence?
Very, very much, very much. I still have cases now that I'm still running, the non-compliance cases that I need to submit to social security at this time and moment. Because this other lady, she's 55 years, working for more than 5-7 years. Still, she was not registered as social security. She does not have any. So at the end of the day, your work until we do have Social Security Act, we have Labor Act. They are not aligned. They are not speaking the same language. Our Labor Act said I must work until I reach the age of 65. Social Security can pay out at the age of 60. I reach the age of 60, and this person want to go and claim his small benefit, as much as they are contributing so much to the economy of this country. Imagine for someone who's working for 30 years and you are contributing a $30 every month to Social Security, and then at the end of the day you are only going to receive a 12,000. What will a domestic worker do with a 12,000? You don't have a house, you are living in a shack, you cannot be able to even to give a deposit to NHA. So it's some of these things that our policy, law and policy makers have also to look deeper into it and see how did domestic workers contribute to the economy of this country, because the domestic worker sector will never die. It's growing every day from day to day. It's a sector that will never die, because no one will live without the domestic workers.
You talked about wages. I just want to go a little further, because you're right. You mentioned the 2,600, which is at the moment the minimum wage. The domestic workers' minimum wage was being phased in 3 phases because it was so low to begin with, the wage of most domestic workers, that it was decided that it will be phased in over a 3-year period. Next year, that's in the beginning of 2027, the minimum wage will be around 3,100, something like that. Now, you already made it clear you cannot live on this. Domestic workers have family obligations of their own.
Exactly.
So what do we do? Do we campaign? Because the minimum wage is a floor. The minimum wage, government has made it clear, is not what workers should be paid. They said it's a floor. It's an entry level. Do you have the possibility of organizing and convincing employers to pay more?
Yeah, Madam Vicki, we do have our own way of how do we do our marketing and lobby employers on different levels, because from my perspective of understanding is I know It's not all the employers that have businesses. Some are working for businesses owners, so it's a two-way stroke that you have to look deeper into it and see, okay, fine, this person is a lawyer, qualified lawyer, but is also working from another institute, so where you have also to go and earn something so that at least he can also be able to sustain his family. But then we have also to be very realistic to say, if you cannot be able to sustain your expenses and you are earning 60,000 approximately, for an example, with 60,000 you cannot be able to sustain your own family, your own expenses. How do you expect someone that's taking care of your family, having her own responsibility, wishing also to have a home like you, to live on a 2.8 or even a 3,000? Let's look on a realistic and the livelihood in the capital city currently now. How much is rent? For a Kambasho, you are paying 1.5. Rent in Window, if you are alone, you pay 3.5. A flat costs you almost 6.5. So meaning at the end of the day, we are expecting domestic workers to go back, sleep in a riverbed. Tomorrow morning you are expecting this same domestic worker to come with a smile on her face and come take care of your kids. She have to be a nanny, she have to be a housekeeper, she have to be a chef in your house, she have to be a house manager when you are going out for your holiday. She don't have a holiday. This is not realistic at all. This is very painful. We need to look for other strategies so how we can see what is the living basket. Larry done a research, and I think it was in 2015, if I can recall, after that, 2015, 2016. A living basket, approximately a person of a Namibian citizen have to live to earn a salary of 10,000 upwards. But then I also have the perspective of understanding to say it's not everyone that can be able to pay domestic workers at 10,000, because we are not at the same level. Even our own, I don't believe, and I totally don't understand. It's very rare that you find a domestic workers that earning more in Namibia. From the 10 years of my leadership in this organization, is earning 4,000.
Yeah.
That's the minimum. And this 4,000, 2,000 go to rent already. One room rent, which you have to sleep with 5 kids on the floor, on a bed, small bed. You don't have proper furnitures. Sometimes we are also waiting for employers to say, can you take this broken chair and see how you can fix it and keep it? If you don't want it, or you don't want to buy this small table because this table is very expensive. Now, because I am in need of this small table, because I can at least put a plate of food there and eat and feel like I'm in home, I need to buy. From what will I buy this table from? From a 2.4 or 2.6 or 3,000. This person says my table costs 700, but I can give you for 400. Obviously, at the end of the day, I will come back and borrow again, because the money that I bought a table with is money that I'm supposed to go and buy a 10 kg of top square. 10 kg of top square is 110. A 10 kg of sugar is 200 and something. A domestic worker is living on a daily basis to have a bread and butter on the table, because majority of domestic workers now, they've been paid daily. And the most difficult part of this national minimum wage, whatever is coming on board, whether it's at the entry level or not, days of the people are being reduced, because the understanding of the employers, they feel like your government decided, so we are going to pay you now. Instead, I was paying you 3,000, now I'm going to take 3 days of your days, so you're only coming for 2 days, but the work is not being reduced.
How common is that? Is that common?
It's a common. Very, very common. And this is cases that we are dealing with on a daily basis. Now, a person that was started in 2006, for you to start a new contract with this person is where employers don't understand. They want to continue on a previous agreement with a new agreement. So we ask, most of the time we say, okay, fine. If it's the case, you breach the previous agreement. Let's settle this down. And then we start with a new one. Because with a new one, days have been reduced, salary been reduced. How will this person survive?
Is the work being reduced?
The work is not being reduced. Because the same domestic workers, remember I cannot recall, it was not between 2017, 2018, there was a case of a domestic workers in Notavi or Ocho somewhere there, where this child was being banned because the domestic workers have to take care of a baby, and at the same time she have also to cook, at the same time she have also to. So we need to look deeper into this wage order of us and see how we can strategize and do the division of duty of a nanny, a difference between a nanny and a domestic worker and a chef. If it's the case, then I will request Mama Vicki to have 3 domestic workers. You have a nanny to take care of your babies separately, because this child is really need attention. You have a chef that have to prepare your meal so that at least you can have a warm meal. But then you have also a domestic worker to clean and to iron and to do laundry. But now the same domestic worker which is here working in the house, the same domestic worker also that's doing gardening outside for the same salary. So going back is now, I'm just trying to highlight the issue of the living basket. At the end of the day, a domestic worker approximately, if she can earn maximum 10,000, because this is 3 jobs that this person is doing. And we are talking about now 3.5 approximately by next year. Will you be able to pay a domestic worker 10,500? So, meaning at the end of the day, if we have to push up to that level, we are going to push people to the street. They don't have work. Yet still we have street vendors, they are still struggling. They don't have places where they have to sit, because it's the same domestic workers that came from 6 o'clock in the morning and leave the house at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Make sure that Saturday she's not doing any laundry at home. She have to go sit at the street market and sell potatoes or bananas or tomatoes so that at least she can have something extra at the end of the day.
Go further. Most domestic workers are women. Many of them have family responsibilities outside of their job. Right? What can we do to alleviate some of the challenges that women domestic workers are facing? What is NDAWU? I should say NDAWU. What are you
basically
advocating?
As I have the experience in coming from the same perspective background, as it is one thing that I normally use to, whenever we provide trainings to our own people to say, let's try to manage the little that we have. And it's very difficult, I know, because we have a lot of responsibility, and from my experience myself, I have 7 kids of my own, single mother, try to raise these kids, and majority of my kids, I raise them with the domestic workers' money. They manage to finish grade 10, grade 12, here and there. But then, what can we do as a union is maybe to continue organizing domestic workers, to continue motivating them, especially when I meet the younger ones, the youth. We do have domestic workers finishing grade 12, maybe trying to do some short courses there. The parents cannot be able to afford for her to continue. Obviously, she will end up in this sector. So we motivate to say, as much as you are earning this 2.4 or 2.6 thousand, make sure that at least you continue with your education, because education is the key. As much as the education is the key, this person can still go back, want to go back, fulfill her dreams. But at the end of the day, Madam Vicki, you will be my witness, and you know that we have, how many graduates do we have? Do they have jobs? Now, for how long will a domestic worker's child of a youth, young lady, have to complete her study with a 2.6? And she need also to pay rent. At the end of the day, it might also end up at the age of 30, you already have a baby that you need to take care of. Education is the key, but then we also need leadership as such as Madam Vicki yourself to say, let's come together as women and see what is the best alternative way that we can do. But what does for me, I also have a question on the back of my mind to say, how does Social Security use the development fund? Do they also look outside the box to say, what is it that we can do? Because majority of the people that contributing to Social Security is domestic workers, it's the low income people, not really the hires, the minister, the administrator. They do contribute, but who's working for a longer term of period? Because I can work as an administrator for 5 years and decided I want to open my own business because I save enough. A domestic workers remain a domestic workers for more than 30 to 35 years.
I have an idea.
So we need leadership such as yourself to say, what is it that we can do? We need to be also guided as an organization, because for us we focus more on, because it's a membership-based organization, waiting for domestic workers to contribute a $20 on a monthly basis. But then at the end of the day, for us it's also not about the contribution. For us it's about protection and the dignity of these people to be reversed back to them. Because we want to plant dignity in them. We want domestic workers to feel, as much as we are doing the work that we are doing, is work like other workers. So we need that respect to be provided to domestic workers, so that at least whenever they are doing whatever they are doing, they do it with, fulfillment, happiness. What does the development fund do at Social Security? Are they only looking at certain businesses that someone who registered a business, a young one? Why can they also not maybe to say, let's look at the capacity of providing trainings of maybe centers for domestic workers. Domestic workers, they are good with their hands. We might not be good with our minds, but we have skills, because everyone is unique on its own way.
Having met over the years members of domestic workers from different countries, because we were involved in the efforts to get this ILO convention passed, and I had the privilege of meeting many people, some of whom from time to time you see them again.
Yeah.
Some of these, in some countries, the domestic workers themselves have organized co-ops. And either to provide childcare or to provide various services, but they do it collectively, not being hired to go to an individual house, not being hired by an individual house. There are many things we can discuss, and I'm glad you raised the question, because I think it is time for many of us to sit down and look at this. It's a challenge, and you have, I hope the people who are listening to this understand, the domestic workers on whom you rely, they're also your security people in most cases.
Exactly.
They're looking after your house so that no one comes and steals when you're not at home.
Yeah, because they are staying there for holiday. You are going on holiday. Who's looking after your house?
they are being paid very little. And I will say one thing about this before we continue. This is not an interview with me, but an opinion of mine. Domestic workers are seen as a substitute for the wife.
Exactly.
You know? And the wife or whoever, the mother, is expected to do all of this work unpaid. They're called unpaid care workers.
Exactly.
Now, the way many husbands look at it is the domestic worker is your employee, not our employee, not the house's employee. And then they say, okay, if women were supposed to do this work for free, then how much are we supposed to pay someone who's doing it for them? It couldn't be very much. And I think that contributes to the lack of, to the low pay and a lack of understanding. It's a big challenge. I don't want to say that it isn't. But some progress, I think you would agree, has been made in the law over the years. But even the laws, you mentioned the ILO convention. It's a part of Namibian law. Right? The convention was called Decent Work for Domestic Workers.
Which is
and
not.
It specifies many things. Do you think, if you're going to summarize, would you say that domestic workers in Namibia today enjoy decent work, including fair pay, safe working conditions, respect, protection of their rights? How would you assess this?
I would say yes or no, because 85% they are not really, they are undervalued, they are not respected, they don't get the salary that they deserve. The fact that the living condition that they are living in.
At work?
Either at work, because we are also having issues such as sexual harassment at workplace, gunpoint. As Madam Vicki mentioned earlier, to say domestic workers are substitute to the wife. It's just, to be honest, it's the reality that's happening in private household. And when we are looking deeper into our Labor Act, the loophole of the enforcement of private properties, what can we do? Does the lawmakers look into this section and see what can be done? Because if the labor inspectors can also not have enforcement to come to Madam Vicki's house and come and inspect and talk with domestic workers in a friendly manner and try to find out what is the challenges that you are facing, are you happy where you are working? We are waiting, sitting there, and do not know what are we expecting on a daily basis, because the next moment you find out someone is popping in your office or in their office, their own office, and say, okay, fine, I don't want to go back to Madam Vicki's house. I'm using Madam Vicki's example because I know Madam Vicki will not bite me. And you know the reality. So I don't want to go back. It's not that I don't want my job. I need the job because I'm hungry. I need the money to feed my family. I have rent to pay. But I don't want to go back because I fear my life. My boss is want to give me extra money because the wife is not there. This type of accident is happening.
Extra money for what?
I want to sleep with these domestic workers because you are a woman like my wife. Why can I not? This is happening, Madam Vicki.
So you're saying there is sexual abuse?
Yes. Mm-hmm. But then, how will this person feel comfortable to go back? Mm-hmm. Or sometimes it's like husband and wife divorce. They have their own issues. One sleeping in that room, the other one is sleeping in that room. So they feel like, yeah, we are not going anywhere. We can stay together, but we are not husband and wife anymore. Now the substitute have to be a domestic worker who is having, yes, her husband or her boyfriend at home. So some of these issues are not coming out because people are fearing to lose jobs. For me, it happened with me when I was a domestic worker.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in 2002, 2003, 2000. I came to speak my story out and share it with IDWF because IDWF groomed me.
Can you say what is International Domestic Workers
International
Union?
Domestic Workers Federation.
Yes.
They groom us when we pick up leadership. They build our confidence in ourselves. I came to speak out in 2022. Something that's happened in 2003, 2004. So how many domestic workers have we?
What happened to you?
It was a sexual harassment. A young boy coming and facing me naked while I'm washing a floor. I write my story. I can publish. I can send to Mama Vicki.
Oh, please do.
So the next moment when you turn around, this person is having condoms in your hands, and I say, "What's going on? Are you not ready?" And I'm like, I was working for this senior citizen, and then he was renting outside at a flat. So because you need something extra, this person is asking you, can you also maybe when you are done, because you are finishing early, can you please go and clean my flat? For this extra money that you're getting before the salary came. So normally I used to work like 3 houses or 2 houses, for 2 families in a day. From 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning until 12, and then 1 o'clock I started another family, and then until 4 o'clock. And this is how I end up being harassed. So without knowing where to go, how should I report this? If I tell my boyfriend, how will it destroy? How will I feel? How is my relationship going to be destroyed? How will I tell my kids? Where will I start? So you have to keep everything inside. You don't know where must you go. Must I go to the police station? Will it be a case enough? Because I don't have a proof. So things are happening in private household. Our law have to be realistic. How are we protected? How are we going to protect these vulnerable workers?
What do you think we can do?
I think the fact that now I know what they are experiencing because it's happened with me.
Mm-hmm.
I think more education can take place, and we also need really our labor department also to get involved and educate not only domestic workers but educate employers as well.
Do domestic workers listen to the radio?
Majority of them are listening to the radio.
Maybe that's a way to
because
reach them
they
too.
don't have the capacity of affording smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
So they cannot look on news. Some of them they do have, but then for me to have a smartphone, madam have to buy it for me,
Mm-hmm.
and it have to be deducted. Or I can say, I can give you this one as a gift for December, so that at least we can have a proper communication.
Mm-hmm.
But when the dispute arises now, I ban this expensive t-shirt, apparently. This t-shirt, I bought it in Germany and it cost me a lot of money. So, I think I don't need you anymore in my house. So if you don't need me in your house, what can be done? What does the law say? Our laws is very clear, our regulations is very clear. Labor Act is very clear. You breach the contract, pay the domestic workers out. But then at the end of the day, can you please bring my phone back?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a type of a pull down syndrome. We don't need to use domestic workers as tools for your happiness. You need my service, I need money. If I don't have a job, I will not be able to support my family. If you don't have a domestic work, you will stay with a dirty house, you will not be able to clean your own toilet. And we also look at the the occupation health and safety, the hazard issues. Domestic workers are using chemicals on a daily basis. There is no proper equipment, there is no hand gloves, they are not provided with hand gloves. Some of them, they are also not provided with uniforms. Uniforms are there. In PEP, you can find it at Metro, you can find it at various retails. But for domestic workers to request a uniform, then I will deduct from your salary. And this is not what our law says. But does our lawmakers, do they know what domestic workers are going through? I don't think so. If they know, then they are ignorant, or they don't care. But how do you do not care for someone that makes sure that when you stand up in the morning, your bathroom is clean, your toilet is clean, you have a cup that you are using is clean. You know, you are going with peace of mind to your office. But you don't make sure that a domestic worker, when she steps out of your house after 5, she go with a peace of mind home.
What would you, if you were going to zero in on employers, what would you like them to understand about their responsibilities towards domestic workers?
Basic for me is I really want a very strong relationship between the two. We need to be able to understand that you need me, I need you. Domestic workers are workers like other workers. We also have dignity as human. As much as you want me to respect you, I also want domestic workers to be respected at a very high level, because we contribute to the economy of this country. We contribute globally. And I'm not speaking on, as much as Namibia is spearheading most of our benefit as domestic workers, our country is trying. It's trying. We do have countries that does not even have policies for domestic workers in place. As much as we are trying, I want a very strong relationship. I want, it's not that people does not know that domestic workers have laws and regulations. They know. Employers are ignorant. And the ignorances bring us to have a dispute that we did not supposed to have. You don't build a relationship with someone when you need that person. And the moment when you feel like, today I don't need you because I find Maria and I think Maria was working for my mother before and she will do a better job today. But for the past 5 years, I was there. I was these domestic workers that you could rely on when you are in Cape Town for your holiday. How do you trust someone to leave the domestic workers in this big house? Someone that you do not know where she's coming from. You don't know even where she's coming from Okahof or from where she's coming from. You don't know. Majority of employers don't want to go to Katutura and see where domestic workers are living. I experience it myself because my employer will let me work and say, we have a cup of coffee. I'm sorry, we will not be able to come now at 5 o'clock. Can you wait for us until 7? You sit there and wait, and you become the security of that house and make sure that the dogs are barking outside, who's there outside. Here you are panicking. What if the house is broken? What will happen to me? What will happen to the people's properties? And then at the end of the day, when this person is coming and saying, where can I drop you? We drop you in town at 7 o'clock, at 7:30. What time will I reach in Katutura? And when I reach home, you don't even give a call to say, Maria, are you safe home? You are expecting me to be in your house tomorrow morning at 6:30 again. So you have a peaceful sleep night. I need to go and make sure that I have to prepare a fire so that at least I can prepare meal for my kids. What time I go to bed, you don't know. Maybe it's 5 o'clock or midnight or 3 o'clock midnight on the next morning, and I need to wake up because majority of domestic workers are waking up at 4 a.m. So we don't have enough rest because we have our own battles and we have responsibility of someone's house. So we're expecting employers to respect domestic workers and understand that we are also human like other people.
Can I ask you this? Because I know in some cases the union actually can be effective in protecting a worker or some workers. Can you tell us of some success stories where your union has helped someone to improve or change their life?
Yeah, looking at that perspective, Mama Vicki, I would say protecting domestic workers is our responsibility. Making sure that our people are happy is also our responsibility because we become now also psychologists, in our own way without any education. Me sitting here with an old standard 6, we are not talking about grade 8 now, standard 6, because my whole entire school, everything was in Afrikaans. Mm-hmm. I do not know how did I also learn to speak English, but here I am, I'm speaking with Madam Vicki. Yeah, a successful story that we said, most of the time we take an opportunity to say, Maria came to my office, I work on her dispute, I make sure her severance package is well calculated, and I'm assuring you, Mama Vicki, to say, since in my leadership, my 10 years leadership in this union, it's very rare that I have a dispute that I submitted to Minister of Labour Commissioner. Mm-hmm. Because there, our people is not valued. They would rather say, what case, domestic worker, go to your union. This person is not even a member of the union, is what I said. For us, it's not about contribution, it's about the dignity of the people. Most of the time we motivate them. What we do is, you have this 10,000, which is not even enough after 15 years, of 12,000. This person is having credits and what. We advise them to say, start a small business, if you can. What can you do best with your own hands? No, in my free time, I like maybe to do needlework because I have an old machine and so on and so on. This is where my biggest worries is coming on to say, what is the purpose of the Social Security Development Fund?
It's a very interesting question.
If we cannot plow back to those who contributed, this is workers' money. I remember that I submitted a proposal to Social Security because of the development fund, because I needed, the proposal was basically on me establish a needlework center so that domestic workers can come and do their own things, so that at least one is being provided with a proper training. You can be able to start your own business. As much as we are motivating and trying to motivate them to start small businesses, they will not even be able to be successful because there's a starting capital is not enough. A domestic worker cannot even be able to go to FNB and ask for a loan. For sure. Because a domestic worker cannot be able to open a bank account. How much do you earn? 2.5. No. If you can earn 3.5 and you have a regular income, then you can open a bank account. Now a bank account that I open today, because I have a job today, after 6 or 2 years, I don't have a job again. I lose my job. my account is on Manus. I owe the bank.
Mm.
So it's a valid question, Mama Vicki, and I really I need to think about it very deeply and see what can we do. We mostly we motivate. We never really can say what we motivated, they achieve what they want, because I mentioned to say the same domestic workers that working today here is the same street vendor which is sitting outside in a street of window and trying to survive.
I think you have raised some very, very serious issues. And one thing is that this podcast will go to some of the people who might be able to do something. We are raising awareness, all right? And so as I sit and listen to you, I realize, yes, you are recruiting or motivating me to do more. Right?
Yes, exactly.
I thank you. I really thank you for raising these issues. Now, we're heading into Labor Day.
Okay.
Do you have any message that you want to send? Because we have to continue. We can't stop. So what message do you have for domestic workers? If you want to say anything for the families that employ them, feel free. You will have the last word on this interview. But I'm committing in public that I will continue to discuss this with you and with others. Let's have a forum to do this.
Yeah, I'll see forward to that. My message is very simple, Mama Vicki. I have something short that I prepared.
Okay, wonderful.
As we are approaching the Workers' Day, the message for domestic workers across the country and at the global level, your work matters a lot. It's matter. And this is one thing that I also maybe plead to the employer to say, it's not that we are there because we want to be domestic workers. No. We were having dreams in the future to say, when I went to school, I wanted to become a private detective. But what happened after that? I became a domestic worker. And I am proud to be a product of domestic workers, because today I can be able to protect my fellow women and men. We are not talking regardless Namibia. I travel many countries in Africa. We have at the global level. In our federation, we meet Kenya, we meet Malawi. My first trip in Malawi was, I came back to realize to say, Namibia are doing better, because when I went there, I thought we are not doing what we are doing. But then the dignities of domestic workers, we speak about it as is something that I really want to say. As much as we are domestic workers, we have dignities like other people. I have a dignity like a minister. I have a dignity like Madam Nandindaitwa, you know. And this is one of our good examples that we said. She's our first trade union leader. She's speaking on behalf of the workers. She's leading this international Workers' Day as well. So hopefully, few days back, or a week back, we meet in the State House, and she make it clear to say she wants workers to speak for themselves. So the rights of the domestic workers matters. It does not matter to me as a domestic worker, but it also have to be matters to others, because what we do, we don't do it because we want to do it. It's not a choice. For you to go out of your house while it's dead is also not a choice. You can do it better then, but then you cannot do it yourself. So do not see yourself as just a domestic worker, but you are a worker and a professional in a very unique way. So domestic workers are vital and part of the economy of these countries. So I encourage you to know your rights, organize yourself, organize the others as well. And this is where I started. I started in this location. This is where I mobilize my fellow women and men. And the more you mobilize is when it's only you don't realize the value of yourself until another person see it in you. And I'm really proud to be chosen to be one of the domestic workers to lead an organization that is in existence of 36 years. To the family and employers, I want to say this. The people who work in your homes are not invisible. They are human beings with families, responsibility, and also have dreams. Domestic workers, they are dreaming to have millions, but they cannot raise it. Where will they get it? Treat them with fairness, respect, and dignity. Ensure they have a proper contracts, fair wages, rest, and human working conditions. And we will address this where we were having our discussion. Hopefully, Minister Wiseman is listening to us, and he will take it into consideration to say, let's stand up and visit the informal settlement where domestic workers are living. Mm-hmm. If you want your house to be shining, where does these domestic workers? We were having a rain flood last year. Many domestic workers and cleaners lost their homes. Mm. What did our government do? Nothing. What happened to the COVID contribution? Domestic workers did not benefit out of it because they were not having smartphones. They could not apply.
Wow.
It was a challenge.
It's a big one.
We stood out. We contributed food parcels to domestic workers. And as much as we can get that opportunity for those who are willing to contribute to this organization so that at least we can build the dignity and give respect to those who are taking care of our homes. They are welcome to meet us at our offices. The Workers' Day is not just a celebration, it's a reminder to many and to all of us. Employers are also included. We find good employers. We find also those who are struggling the same way that we are struggling. It's not that we don't appreciate them, but the only things that we are requiring is for us to work together as a team and as one family. Because as much as you need my service, I also need your respect. Lastly, every worker deserves respect, protection, and justice, regardless of where they are working. This is not only about domestic workers. We have construction workers, we have security guards, we have farm workers in private farms. They are also suffering. Let us all play our part in building Namibia where domestic workers is recognized and valued and protected. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.